Hey, what's going on everyone? Vega here for SerpentX Tech, and in this video we'll be taking a look at how to configure or set up your ePIC UMC or your ePIC blockchain technology control board that allows you to take your ASIC miner to the next level to make it more efficient and get more performance out of it. There's so much adjustability compared to the stock control board, and I just want to take you through that process right now. All right, just like we did in our first video about the initial setup of the S19K Pro, whatever ASIC it is, you got to find it on your network. There's a number of different software that you can use. I like Angry IP Scanner. A lot of people like to use different ones, Wireshark or whatever it might be. I can also use my router, which I can do as well. And we can see off rip, there's our miner right there on 192.168.50.41. It's under the name CMiner 320A for whatever reason. And same thing here on my router. So now that we found it, we just need to go to that IP address. But first, ePIC and their entire team do a really good job of providing all the needed information to the end user. If you go to the links I'm going to provide in the description, that will help you out. Not only will be links to their firmware for their specific models, for example, the S19J or whatever it might be. They even have the M30, M50, and block miner, but also documents that take you to various places, like their dashboard or UMC installation guide. If you haven't checked out my videos where I compared the stock AM Logic control board to the ePIC UMC, please go check that out, as well as the installation of how to swap out control boards on your S19K Pro, which is pretty much the same for the J Pro, XPs, whatever it might be. Check those out. I'll have them linked in the description, as well as ePIC Blockchain Technologies frequently asked questions, or FAQs, that will link you to the right places, where they even have their own dashboard, right? That's available for Windows, Mac, Linux, Red Hat, and their firmware. Not only can you get it on the main website, which will be in the description, but there's also a GitHub where you could see some of the older or previous versions of firmware. And I download it, and I always like to do this. Whatever device I get, always like to have the stock firmware. Whether it's a GPU, ASIC, doesn't matter. Always like to have the stock firmware and the SD recovery firmware, just in case. So now we just need to navigate to the IP address of this particular miner. Now, pay attention, because unlike the traditional ASICs or stock control boards where root is your username and password, or admin, depending on what device you have, in this case, the password here is "let me in." So you need to type that in order to even log into your thing. And the number one thing you need to do is go and change that password. Where you would go to do that is go to settings, and then on the top side here, there are different tabs. Let me get out of your way. Right, we got mining config, where we can see our pools here. And by the way, the pools will automatically be set up in there to ePIC blockchain's pools. So if you turn on your machine and expect it to start mining for you, it's not going to with the ePIC control board installed. It's going to mine to their pools. So make sure you update that. But under the system tab is where you can enter in your new password. Just type it in twice, make it something strong. And then you can see right below that, we have the firmware update or system update, where we can click browse and choose whatever firmware we want to install on this ePIC UMC. But this thing comes pre-configured with all the goodies, so I wouldn't override it with a Brains OS or a Lux OS firmware. I would just use ePIC and ePIC only. They're just great boards. Now, you can maintain the config, right, your particular settings for your pools and all that stuff, but just note that that is where you would do it for this particular dashboard. Now, we can toggle the theme to light mode or dark mode, whatever you prefer, but the real bells and whistles is the perpetual tune. All right, we got performance and perpetual tune. Now, the tuning algorithm, which it's already doing right now, you can see I could stop it, is it will go through and try to find the most optimum state for this particular miner. And there's also voltage optimizer, where we try to maintain the target hash rate by perpetually adjusting the voltage for efficiency. If the system automatically throttle, it will automatically throttle down or up depending upon the temperature set. And then you can also chip tune or tune individual chips. It will go through and tune each chip individually. Some chips perform better than others. we've seen this before with Brains OS as well, but you can see here that we just got that much more fine tunability compared to the stock S19K Pro with the AM Logic control board. However, that is not the only control board that comes on the S19K Pro. There's also the BeagleBone and the Xilinx control board. So you can pick and choose. So those boards would do fine with a firmware flash from LuxOS or Luxor and Brains or BitBix or Bixbit. I keep saying that backwards. But then you're paying a dev fee. This ePIC control board has no dev fee. And it also has presets where we can choose 120 terahash at 2760 watts. We can upclock the frequency. We can downclock the voltage. We can really fine tune this thing. Now, if you paid attention or you are a subscriber / viewer of the channel, you would know right now I'm running this thing with only 2 fans, the 2 rear ones, because the control board differences that I mentioned in my previous videos where we compared the AM Logic to the ePIC, there's only 2 4-pin PWM fan headers on the AM Logic, and then there's 2 4-pin like DC fan headers, and the ePIC control board only has 4 4-pin PWM. So I have to either adapt it or not worry about it because we're planning on immersion cooling this thing anyways. So I just want to get this set up and ready to be dunked, and that is my goal, but I just wanted to take you through the various aspects. So right now, as far as tunability, we could turn the fans on auto because it's a nice cool day here in Florida, and even though I'm down 2 fans, it still should do really good about regulating its temperature. Now, the shutdown temperature is 85 degrees Celsius, obviously, for this particular miner, but we can adjust all that here under the settings section. Now, if we go to dashboard, we can see where the machine is sitting right now. It's actually tuning based on the parameters. You can see perpetual tune on, voltage optimizer in progress, users target 138 terahash, target throttle down to 128 terahash. So right now, we're not exactly that efficient because you can see the amount of power draw we're pulling. So this is where I said in my previous videos, I wouldn't recommend, even though the power supply is rated for 5,000, I wouldn't recommend running at 5,000 or trying to max out your power supply. 4,400 is about the sweet spot for the stock power supplies, unless you're going to go alpha miner and upgrade your power supply. But you can see here that we're only getting so much hash rate per wattage. Now, I do see something that just caught my eye here, and that is there's only 2 boards on right now. So that's something I need to go resolve real quick because there's 4 connections for the ribbon cables to plug into, and I wonder if I have that out of a particular order and it doesn't like it. So let me shut down the machine. You can go ahead and go in the top right if I move out of your way, and we can stop mining, we can restart, and we can reboot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug the miner now that I hit stop mining. I'm going to go plug in the control board ribbon cable into a different spot, and then come back once things get settled in, and we'll continue going through. But, you know, find your miner is right here. If I needed to find it because I had a bunch of miners, you just turn that on. Logs, I love logs. You know, you get to see a lot of good information, very good to use. API, you know, here's the what we've seen before with, for example, setting up full nodes via for, you know, Alphium or whatever it might be. We've seen this before where there's various commands that we can use. We can, you know, copy, paste, and get additional information or adjustments out of this particular miner using API features. And I just love it. Support, as soon as you go to support, it says please contact your seller for support. I don't need to worry about it. I just go straight to ePIC Blockchain. Great team, always helping out. And their support questions, you know, if you go to info@epicblockchain.io or support because you need help at epicblockchain.io, they'll take care of you. So let's go ahead and get that last control board plugged in. All right, so now we have all 3 hash boards detected and hashing away. I'm going to let it perpetually tune, and maybe in a different video we'll compare the perpetual tune against the individual chip tuning. We have our threshold or temperature shutdown temperature at 85 degrees Celsius, and I know Bitmain seem to be a little bit more temperamental when it comes to thermals than the What's miners, but that's just based upon, you know, what my colleagues have told me and their experience with this particular device. We certainly get better graphs, in my opinion, than the stock AM Logic, dashboard that we were seeing originally with the S19K Pro. We're sitting around 4,400 watts. Obviously, that efficiency is way off, as it will tune. You can see it's still tuning. This will eventually go away. I set the target for 150 terahash. It had it originally at 138. And we are using nice hash, ASIC boost right now, but I'm also going to test brains. And never just set your miner up, set up your pools, and set it and forget it. Please, always, make sure and validate that the miner is showing up at the pool. And you can see that it is. I'm not sure why I gave it that weird name, adding the 168x50 x4. I'm not sure why that happened, but that's not what I have in my settings. You can see my worker name. That is what I have. So very strange there, but either way, it's configured. It's going through the Perpetual Tune feature, doing its own thing based upon what ePIC Blockchain Technologies team have set up and configured for this particular device. No firmware fees, no dev fees. The only fees you're going to be paying for is at the pool level. Of course, you could optimize and make a stock control board just that much better, and not have to pay the one-time fee with the ePIC control board. But I think, some people charge for licenses to get your firmware, and then there's like a 2.2% dev fee on top of that. So you just got to pick and choose your battles, see which one you want, see which one you like. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on, the logs, seeing how things are going. The logs are important too, because we can always download the logs and send it to support, and you can contact them a number of different ways, whether it's support at epicblockchain.io or info at epicblockchain.io. Has all the good stuff. And you can see right now that the firmware that's on the board, I just saw this, the firmware that's actually on the board right now is different than what's on their GitHub. So they're on version 0.36.3, but if we go to the miner, we can see that we're on version down here in the bottom left, 0.35.1. Maybe there might be some optimizations. I really would love to be able to download the firmware that came with this board first, because we learned our lesson last time by just updating the firmware that's directly off of Bitmain's website, messing me up with LuxOS and Brains OS, because I would have loved to show you guys a little bit more detail about that. But we're gonna update it. We can just go ahead and download. I already have both of these backed up to my folders, which I always recommend doing. Back up the stock or the original at the time you get your device, and then obviously as time progresses, gets whatever the latest, and just have some type of redundancy there, just in case you need to fall back. They got the SD recovery and the regular update. You can get it through their GitHub, which again will be linked down in the description, or their main website, which again will be linked down in the description. And let that bad boy Autotune. This was just released November 17th, so not too long ago. And just check out their FAQ and other areas to see what exactly is going on. I actually checked out the ePIC Blockchain dashboard, and this is what it looks like. Right, so you could set up a custom session. Right, you can just give it whatever password, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just temporary. And then you go to table, and I like to type in the miner's IP directly. But you can scan, do a quick scan. It will scan the entire network and look for your miner, or I could just add miner right here. Boom, it picked it up, and we can see it's adjusting the clocks right now. It's doing a little status. We could toggle the LED on and off to identify the miner. The name, I wish I could change that, but I haven't found out where to do that yet. Maybe somebody will tell me, but I just started playing around with this. We can see the firmware version, the mode, power mode or power draw mode, the user, the worker name, how many hash boards it has. It is on the Perpetual Tune right now and voltage optimizer, but it's not completed the tuning process. It sees the target of 150 terahash. It has a shutdown temperature of 85. So everything we saw on the dashboard, but here in this little GUI, but we could at least see the average clocks. Actually, where is that on the dashboard? On the main one, let's see here, dashboard. I'm gonna look for the clocks. Where are the clocks? Clocks. There it is. All right, so there's the average clocks. There's a temperature range. The first number is going to be the temperature at the front. Back number is going to be the temperature at the rear. You can see we're sitting around 600 megahertz clock right now. Same thing we were seeing in the dashboard. Yep, it updated. You can see the temps again, and then the hash rate, 15-minute in real time. And you can just use this to keep an eye on your machine without having to log in through the web browser if you really wanted to. And you can, enable dark mode or light mode or whatever you want to do. And also, you can generate the logs and download the logs so that way you can send it to support. But again, they have a lot of great FAQs that one can use. This is just their ePIC dashboard. When you first download it, by the way, it is going to give you like a little warning, unlicensed. Your browser's going to be like, oh, watch out, dangerous. I verified it. If not, go to Virus Total and just, copy the link, address, and scan it on Virus Total. It is safe, at least this version that I checked. But, I understand why you would be cautious. I'm going to go ahead and update to the latest version. But yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell, man. Just a lot of tunability. I would be interested to compare the Perpetual tune versus the individual chip tuning on each hash board, see what it gets up to. But our power draw is climbing up to 4,600 watts. We're over 134 terahash. Hawk Crypto did a really good job of presenting and showcasing the S19K Pro and trying to fine tune it to make it as efficient as possible, because that's really what it's all about. It's all about efficiency, not just the highest hash rate, but how efficient, what's the best hash rate you could get for the least amount of power draw so you're not having to pay so much in electricity. So these things are pretty efficient. You can get them to S19J Pro plus levels, but you're going to have to pick and choose your battles and see which one you want. However, let me know your thoughts about the ePIC blockchain technologies, not only the team, but the control board. And would you go with it, a one-time fee, right, of this control board versus a consistent 2 to 2.5% dev fee on top of a pool fee if you went with your stock control board and a third-party firmware from Luxor, Brains, BitBix, or whatever it might be. And right now, you can get the ePIC UMC for around 158, or let's say 160 bucks, probably a little bit of shipping, maybe 165, 168, what have you. Would you rather just do this one-time fee and avoid the dev fee, plus the pool fee and so on and so forth? Or would you just go ahead and stick with the stock control board with a third-party firmware modification like Luxor or LuxOS, BrainsOS, BitBix, whatever it might be? Let me know your thoughts down in the description below. But a huge shout out to Autotune, Unminable, and latest -miner.web.app, where you can find out what the latest T-Rex miner, LOL miner versions and more are. But they help support this build series. But that's going to do it for today's video. Again, let me know your thoughts about ePIC and this control board down in the description below. Let me know whether you would go stock control board with modified firmware or ePIC control board down there in the comments. Battle it out, share some information with one another, and do me a favor on the way out. Hit the like button, make sure to get subscribed, hit the notification bell to stay up to date, as well as check out additional links in the description to help support the channel and what we do here. And you just have yourself a wonderful day. Take care. I'll catch you next one.